Hello, this is Sharon from jerryandsharon.com, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about creating magical connections with clients, leads, and business associates. A few months ago, I arrived at a client's office to begin a group meeting, and I discovered that two women who'd committed to joining us for the series of meetings had changed their minds. Now, in less than 1 minute, I convinced them to join us. Did I use some sort of magic? Some may say so, and I'm going to share that magic with you now. Neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP for short, is a science that studies the language of the mind, and it breaks down step by step the strategies humans use to connect with others. Now, most people believe that we communicate primarily through language and words, yet many business people are aware of body language and its importance in interacting with people. Now, some may be aware of studies that show that language has less influence on others than physiology and tonality. And if we want to connect with others, it really benefits us to be consciously aware of how we use physiology and tonality as well as how we use words. Now, here's the breakdown of how we communicate, and this actually might surprise you. 7% of communication relies on words, 38% is through tonality, and 55% is through physiology. Now, it's clear that if we focus our communication only on words and language, we're missing out on 93% of our resources for communication. Now, think of that. That's 93%. That's the vast majority of how we communicate. NLP teaches that anyone can establish rapport with another person instantaneously. Now, rapport in NLP is defined rather differently from its usual definition. Rapport, as NLP sees it, is not about developing a relationship, although it may lead to a relationship sometime down the line. NLP defines rapport as an instant connection with another person that usually takes place at the subconscious level. Now, when people meet and instantly feel that they know each other, or people are instantly comfortable with each other, that's what we mean by rapport. That's saying, oh, I feel as if I've known you for years. That's a statement that shows instant rapport. Now, this kind of rapport happens all the time. People practice rapport unconsciously with friends and family and new acquaintances. And NLP helps us to do consciously and with volition what we do naturally, but often unconsciously with the people we know and meet. Now, this audio presentation is going to sketch out some of the basic strategies that, if put into practice, can dramatically change a person's interaction with others and help to make connections easily. And that really is like magic. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about physiology. Now, since physiology is the primary way that we communicate, remember that's 55%, everyone should have at least a basic understanding of how to establish rapport on a physical level. So posture, breathing, eye movement, blinking are all possible ways of establishing rapport. Now, there are two ways of creating a connection through physiology: matching and mirroring. Now, matching is doing the same thing with your body as someone else is doing with their body. So, for example, if someone standing in front of you has their head tilted to the right, you would tilt your head to the right. And if someone were observing you, they would see your heads tilted in opposite directions. So, mirroring creates a mirror image. If someone has their head tilted right and you are standing in front of them, you would tilt your head to the left. To an observer, your heads would be tilted in the same direction. Now, both matching and mirroring should really be done subtly and not in an obvious, exaggerated way, because the idea is to connect, not to be offensive. Most people would find it really offensive if someone was mimicking them. So don't do what kids do when they imitate someone with the intention of annoying. When you're establishing rapport, the goal is to be natural, smooth, and inconspicuous. So observe people who like each other, and this is something you'll see in action. People do things very, very naturally. When people are matching and mirroring each other, they're establishing rapport and they're connecting on a very deep level, but on a very unconscious level. So go back and listen to the first paragraph of this audio presentation. The magic that I used was simple. I noticed that the women were standing with their shoulders slumped forward and they were leaning towards each other. All I did was match them and smile, and it was magic. They agreed to come to the meeting that they did not want to attend. People match and mirror each other all the time. If you go to a public place where people are interacting, you'll be able to recognize that a couple who are together are showing rapport. They may lean in towards each other. They might make eye contact. They may be crossing their legs. If someone were to carefully observe them, there'd be numerous ways their physiology matched or mirrored each other. Now, this sends a signal to the other person. It's, I'm with you, we're connected, I'm like you. It also sends a signal to those who are observing. Have you ever walked into a room and knew there were people in the room who were having an intimate conversation and you felt like an intruder? Now, you might not have heard their words, but you instantly knew that you were interrupting something. And that's because you would have been reading their physiology. So imagine you're talking with someone and they glance at their watch frequently, they don't maintain eye contact, they're not matching or mirroring you in any way. Now, that would be sending you a very clear signal, and it's not one of rapport. More than likely, you'd cut the conversation really short and let them go about their business. Some people are masters, consciously or unconsciously, of matching and mirroring other people's physiology. Now, these people are often very social, very well liked, and very popular. But if they use their skills to manipulate people, they're probably not very popular, and they're likely to be seen as very dodgy, disingenuous people. Now, it's a powerful tool, and when used with integrity, it's a very good thing, but it can backfire if it's used in negative ways. So let's really go into the details and talk more about how we can create rapport with each other. So as I've already said, mirroring creates a deep connection, and it's a much deeper connection than matching. Matching is a lot more subtle and it's a lot easier to do. So if you wish to establish a deeper connection, you might consider matching first and then moving towards mirroring if you see that it's appropriate. Now, the typical areas that you'd want to match and mirror would be breathing, posture, blinking patterns, and hand movement. Now, you can match and mirror more than one aspect of someone's physiology. Now, think specifics. If you match someone's breathing, you need to ask yourself things like, where are they breathing? High in the chest, in the middle, low? Is their breathing deep, shallow, fast, or slow? If you want to practice, try doing this with a baby or a child who is upset or being hyperactive. You match their breathing, and when you get into sync for a while, start to begin to slow your breathing. Now, if you're in rapport with that child, they will begin to match your breathing pattern. So their breathing will start to slow and they will begin to calm down. And you've changed their physiology and their mood by changing their breathing. Now, be careful with that one, because you might find that parents will begin to call you for babysitting. So hand movements are another one that are really important to watch. If a person you're talking to does not use their hands, note that and don't you use hand movements. If you do use hand movements, you could actually break rapport rather than establish it. If someone does use hand movements, just match your own movements to theirs and be aware of what the person you're talking to does with their hands and match as closely as you can. Another one to watch is head angles, shoulders, and how a person sits. So, for example, I slouch. One of my best friends sits up very, very straight, and when I'm with her, I always notice that I tend to sit up straighter. Now, blinking is one of the most subtle ways of getting into rapport with someone. Most people aren't even aware of their blinking patterns, and I've tried this with people who don't blink much, and I find my eyes getting really, really sore. So I've learned something about myself, and that's that I tend to blink a lot. Now, these are just a few suggestions. You'll discover a lot more as you begin to actually notice other people's physiology, and in turn start to notice your own as well. Part 2 of this audio talks about creating rapport using tonality and words. I hope I've taught you something about creating magical connections with clients, leads, and business associates. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy part 2.